typical Division I college player devotes 43.3 hours per week to his sport, which is 3.3 more hours than a typical American work week. How many people do you know that would like more money? I'm guessing all of them. Now take those people and imagine them working over 40 hours a week and getting paid less than $5 for the work that they did. Now add on a week's worth of work of assignments and tests. That's a lot of work for a developing adult to accomplish in a week's time, along with the stress of having to pay for all that in the back of their minds. College athletes should be paid in a different form other than scholarships. The NCAA makes more than enough money to keep athletics up and running. Some of the money should be granted to the student athletes, or at least to the schools to forward in the direction of the student athletes. The NCAA currently produces nearly $11 billion in annual revenue from college sports, according to 21 reasons why student athletes and employees should be allowed to unionize. $11 billion just from college sports. Where does that kind of money even come from? You might not even know it, but some of it comes from you. The NCAA uses the athletes' fame for their use. For example, we all know the famous Nebraska running back Amir Abdullah. Any jersey with his name on it belonged to the NCAA until it was bought by a fan. So the money from the jersey goes to the NCAA. It took a lot of hard work and sacrifice for him to get his name to where it is today, just like all college athletes. It seems to me that the NCAA is just using Amir Abdullah's fame to make money off of his name, and not just his name. The NCAA tries to keep star athletes from the professional level so they can get more money from the athlete's success. In just college football, athletes must stay in college for at least 2 years before an athlete can declare for the NFL draft. In order to enter the draft, the athlete has to be pretty good, and if they're good, that means they are more than likely to be famous. Famous means more money for the NCAA. According to college athletes should get paid, here's why, an online article. The Alabama football program alone was responsible for $82 million in revenue to the NCAA. That's a lot of money brought in by a roster of 85 players. And since the players are responsible for this revenue, they deserve some kind of compensation. Some of the money the NCAA receives, not earns, should go to the college athletes in a form other than scholarships. Although some of the money goes back to the schools, most of it still never directly reaches the student athletes' eyes. The athletes should get some of the money straight from the NCAA. One way this could be done is for the NCAA to give the student athletes at least a portion of the money that the NCAA got for his or her name. This year, the University of Alabama reported $143.3 million in athletic revenues, which is more than all 30 NHL teams and 25 of the 30 NBA teams. In the NHL and NBA, athletes are paid to play. If some NHL teams and NBA teams make less money than Alabama, they should have more than enough to pay their players. Alabama is just an example. Most, if not all, Division I should be able to afford paying their athletes in different forms other than scholarships. Last year, the average salary for a BCS eligible football coach was $2.05 million. If they can pay their coaches that much money, they should be able to pay athletes more than what they are receiving through scholarships. Only about 2% of high school athletes win sports scholarships every year at NCAA and universities, according to 8 things you should know about sports scholarships. Being a high school athlete, 2% is a depressingly low number. For those who are lucky enough to receive any form of scholarship, the average scholarship is about $11,000. That might pay off the cost of tuition, but for most big schools, it is not enough. And for those star athletes who receive a full ride, its scholarship only pays for tuition and costs for living, which is spectacular compared to $11,000, but it still doesn't give them the freedom to use their money. According to a survey taken from 50 random people, 82% said that college students in general should receive more money, but only 52% said that paying student athletes is a reasonable idea. Paying student athletes with money would give them more options to use their money. There are only 6 sports where all scholarships are full ride. These sports are football, men's and women's basketball, women's gymnastics, volleyball, and tennis. In these sports, the athlete receives either full ride or no ride. Overall, the money around the student athletes is slim to none compared to the schools, coaches, and the NCAA. The NCAA announced that it has signed a 14-year, $10.8 billion contract with the CBS and Turner Broadcasting to televise the men's basketball tournament, according to an online article by Brad Wolverton. The deal will funnel at least $740 million annually to the NCAA member colleges. Once again, they are using the student athletes for their game. If March Madness was boring, nobody would watch it. And if nobody would watch it, then the broadcasting stations will not give out $10.8 billion to televise the tournament. Meanwhile, the annual NCAA men's basketball tournament affects more than 6 days of classes. That is a lot of catch-up time for the players who are lucky enough to get to the tournament. Not to mention that the NCAA wants to expand the tournament to 68 teams to increase the revenue. Now this is truly March Madness. Student athletes are being used for their fame by the NCAA. The athletes work extremely hard to gain the fame on a national level, only to be deprived of their benefits. Paying college athletes would allow them to receive a high education and a reward for their hard work. We all should have a right to earn what we are worth.